target area is attached to Feds Williams State Court. On the newspaper as well.
Good morning, everybody.
Criminal Company Minister Habeck saying after a court ruling determined the industry will be missing a large sum from the green transformation. The Finance Minister Linder saying the ruling on the budget has brought new clarity. The government has taken immediate steps to enact the ruling.
Anybody looking for any OI changes or any action you were looking at yesterday? Any names? Let me lower this guy. He's pretty loud this morning. Why? Let me lower this guy. All right, I post some of the open interest changes. Again, this week, a lot of November replacement, mostly on the coal side, just because it's been a bullish tape, obviously. But we should see protection probably in the next 2 days as they replace underwater protection. Let me pull this up. A few of the non-mega cap, the non-crowded names. By the way, you guys saw that chart out of what was it? Goldman. Not that chart, but that crowded hedge fund. Here, I'll post it again. All right. So if you want to try to make heads or tails out of the couple of charts we've been looking at here. Hold on, let me get the other one lined up. Okay. So here we have, how come it didn't refresh? Oh, maybe, I gotta do this, that's why. There we go. All right, so that's showing hedge fund positioning in mega cap tech. All right, now back at record highs, basically as crowded as you can get. And at the same time, hedge fund exposure in individual names and single stocks, overall aggressively net short. So you put the two together and try to make sense of what's been going on out there. And again, we've been talking about it. It's that flight to safety trade in those mega cap tech names, quality trade, and short almost everything else. So we are at the point now, very similar times in the past where, quote unquote, the bullish phase runs its course. You get a short covering rally, some more violent than others, get positioning to offset a bit. We're still in the process of that. I posted the chart from TD CTAs. Here's what it looks like. CTA flow is still bullish overall, but as I mentioned in yesterday's note, I think it's we're going to see more in the form of buy the dip than chase as we get into December, the rest of November, December. All right, so you can see here they flip from short in the hole to starting to get aggressively long here. So we are at the point in this bullish phase where the only real information we're going to get is out of weakness or digestion of this rally. Right? Any more chase, in other words, of what I'm saying, tells us nothing. What does it tell us? There's a little more gas in the tank for people scrambling for exposure, looking to grab onto anything that's standing still. Right? You don't know when that exactly may end, but we are likely at the point now where we're a lot closer to the end than the middle of the start of it. So what I'm saying is, if and when we do get that weakness, that consolidation, we're going to get some valuable information out of the price action and the flow to what may or may be happening for the rest of the year into the beginning of next year. Okay, I really strongly believe for this bullish phase, bearish phase cycle that we've been in, I think for the past couple of years now, for that to end, you're going to need to see major rotation. You're going to need to see new names being bought aggressively, that sort of thing, right? Again, we've been talking about that for a while, and there's no reason to touch on that again until we start to see it. But if we do get some sort of digestion and pause here, here's the bullish case. The more bullish case I could see, right, if you're a bull, is more of a stock picker's environment outside of those mega cap names. Right? Could be in the form of a rotation into value, small caps, the banks. You start to see those higher low, higher highs, even if it's for a shorter period of time. Right? It doesn't have to be a major bottom in these things. But I think that's the bullish case. The bearish case is they remain disinterested in everything outside of mega cap tech, and mega cap tech and all these names will likely need to digest. And if they're not buying anything else, the market probably not going to go anywhere to the upside, and most likely to pull back a bit. I will say, as we get into the end of November here, I would keep an eye on some of that underbelly action. Thanksgiving week has a tendency, you see a lot of those squeeze names, low float names, that type of thing as volume dries up. So that's something to keep an eye on as we get into next week. But into December, I think it's going to be really interesting into December. Right? You lose a little bit of that seasonality sizzle. A lot of that chase that we have been seeing right in front of our eyes has been done. Right? Where are we now? SPX 40, well, ES is what, 4,500? So we need to see something different. And I think we're going to get a lot of information over the remainder of November. What else I wanted to mention to you guys? Another nugget as far as the mega cap NASDAQ tech names. If you remember McElliott mentioning about that QYLD ETF, that's that call writing of the NASDAQ 100, QQQ call writing ETF. You had a front run of off a positioning factor there in a bullish way. That changes Friday, right? So today is Thursday. Maybe you start to see some of that bearish action being front ran there. But tomorrow there's some selling that's going to come out of that trade because they got to write calls out again next month. All right, so that's negative delta. We'll see what kind of effect that has, but keep an eye on those mega cap tech names for some weakness. Because if not today, you probably see some tomorrow. And yesterday, we kind of saw a little bit there too, right? Goldman pointed out they were more of. They appeared more of a source of funds for other things. They looked a bit tired. As they should after that move. For those of you out there not Steamroom members, and we got a webinar later today, we'll talk about it, but still not really seeing any potential new leadership, bull market material yet. It's been strictly chase, and that's fine. Doesn't have to show up off the initial chase. But we're still not seeing any change in the character, even on these bounce snapback rallies. And this one's been extremely violent. Financial conditions have eased aggressively. Credit default swaps, let me post that, at a level where the Fed usually likes to tighten up the reins a little bit. Maybe some people can make the argument that inflation coming in and some of this economic data softening changes things a bit. But for us to see a rollover in financial conditions and swaps here, that usually indicates, why is this not updating? Oh, here we go. That usually would indicate some sort of Fed intervention. And even though the market, once again, is starting to price in rate cuts rather aggressively, I wouldn't put that in the Fed intervention camp. Curious to see the Fed balance sheet again today, too. Now that financial conditions have softened a bit. Okay, and again, we're coming from the opposite side, right? We were talking here, SIVB, that's when the regional banks had issues. We got to that spot again. Coincidentally, things just loosened up and got a bit easier. And now we're back to the bottom of that range again. Let me put this line back. I'll get an update on the Fed balance sheet. Here's what that looks like going into this week's update. And you can see a little bit of lift last couple of weeks as things in risk assets were looking pretty weak. Already open. How could I make this bigger? Because we don't. Should I get rid of the squeezometer? Let me get rid of the squeezometer. That didn't make it bigger though. All right.
Trading underway in the NYSE, the Dow opens down about 80 points, the S&P down 5 at 44.97, and the 10-year yield just below 4.47% is down about 7 basis points from yesterday's close.
You got some AI January flow. They report on December 6th, Jan 40s. So it looks like an earnings bet there. At yesterday's action, I didn't see really anything too appealing as far as new. There was some action. Intel caught some heat in the afternoon. There was a newish name wouldn't say the action was anything too dramatic, but FLT, Frank, Larry, Tom. Well, no, not FLT. F. Fungal. I keep screwing up that symbol. Hold on. FLR. Frank, Larry, Robert. Wait, what? I'm not broadcasting? I'm on. I think I'm on. You guys are going to make me dizzy already. And I'm on my own here today. Try not to make me dizzy. Baba reported? Look that way. I'm on. Thank you, Matt. Thank you. So yeah, FLR, what is that? It's like an engineering stock. And you probably want to wait for a little breather there. Had a nice few days in a row. I think earnings involved at some point a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. And not the most liquid name, but quite some decent action. Here's what the chart looks like. But some of the others, Intel, what was there was another couple of, Uber's been really active throughout this whole rally. So it hasn't solely been mega cap tech, but a lot of the other names, have already hatched in a sense. That PLTR, right? That thing's as active as all hell. Tonight on the webinar, we'll go over some things. I did a scan on FinViz, which I found interesting, based on fundamentals, technicals, that sort of thing. Because, looking for that profitability with some growth, which is rare. And some interesting names I found on there. We'll look at them later. Net, it was one of those names we know well. Down today off some earnings. Cisco reported. Looks like they're buying it up already off earnings. PLTR weekly lottos getting a little play.
The early weakness in oil prices, WTI crude futures following the recession lows here, down about 3% at 74.38. U.S. equity markets are beginning the session in the red. It's being driven by earnings reports last night. We see Cisco, Palo Alto Networks, Walmart under significant pressure post earnings.
Can I pop that up?
Alibaba down about 8%.
There we go. That's better. I think that's better. Here are the OI changes off the action in Intel. I mentioned that busy line was part of a roll. You could see here. So it looks like they're replacing some exposure in PayPal, November exposure, pushing it out to Feb 70s. 3,500 of those Feb 70s open. And you got a couple of gigantic November positions set to expire in PayPal Friday. Oh, Amazon had a nice little tug today. Any reason? Or just tired? Amazon attempted to get away from some Pink Panther and an upside niner there, but yanked back. BA Boeing, some weekly puts, November 202 and a half. 78 cents. Is that oh no, XLE, that's not new low. CL though, right? That's new, that's a new recent low there on the crude. Looks like Tesla, November's rolling out. Apple puts, November's rolling out. Yo, did I hear that right? Buffett built a position in Cirrus Holdings, the XM radio. Oh, let me update this a second. I need this today. He bought, and another one which you didn't disclose. What do you mean another one? Another name in the group, or what are you talking about? Here are the active lines in Tesla early on. That 1124 sweep does open a new position, but as you can see, you got some closing activity, several different November lines. Ah, gotcha.
And our next date at the top of the year will be the October NHB Housing Market Index. Some November data expected 40, which being line of the prior.
We got a little Pink Panther the last couple of days on ES. Ross that's earnings today. And you got coins seeing a little put action. Look at Apple. Look at Apple. Some bull flow in GLD, the gold ETF. Nice bounce off that downside liner, GLD. $290s. Let's see, November 24th, 740s. LRCX. November 24th, 740 calls, getting a little play. We're all dropping like flies around me here. Everybody's sick. It's change of weather.
The Dow and the S&P found their way into positive territory. The 10-year yield at 4.457% remains down about 7 basis points from yesterday's close. Crude futures remain down about 3% today.
You got VIX selling early on here. Yep, VIX going south again. Jesus. Jesus. I don't believe it. Macy's was up off earnings? My God. ES, what level did it start at? Let me see. This chart looks a little weird here, though. Can't really make it out. Yeah, look, maybe you can see. I'm trying to look at the bottom, but the bottom looks like registered before the top. I gotta look at why the hell that's happening. Oh, Amazon related to Walmart, right?
No RNO in France seeing the report that EU officials clearing the Renault's joint venture with China's Geely. Nebraska.
My God, VIX taking a nice little piss this morning, huh? EXL, that's crap. So the only thing really seeing some call activity off the open Intel again. Doesn't look like any closing activity there yet, but likely to show up as the day progresses. Any size activity, I should say. Microsoft weeklies. More new highs there. paid $1.99 those cases on the 375s, Microsoft. Hey, you got some housing data coming out. Top of the hour. A little more Microsoft Chase. These are for next week. Jan 390s. Microsoft in the suite. New leader. Ba-ba-da-ba-bum. IWM back in the turlet. Had a nice move though. What was it? 5% that day. But really, all we're looking for is higher lows on all that stuff that's looked awful. Dip buyers instead of put sweepers. A little more Intel December 44 calls. Intel strong again today. B. Riley is buying this NC. That's been going on, I think. You got some small program buying off the VIX selling. Tesla weekly calls. More Apple weeklies. You got a little band of SoFi put sweeper activity, SOFI. A little more Intel tack on. December 42 calls.
Morgan Stanley Finance Unit following a mixed shelf and determine amount. Michael Sierra.
More Microsoft tack on.
The 90 seconds since up there, we'll get the November NHB Housing Market Index expected at 40, which should be in line with the prior. Also see some Colombian trade balance data for September.
More VIX selling. Housing data, 2 minutes.
Colombia trade balance minus $575 million in line with expectations for September.
All right, housing data.
November NHB Housing Market Index in just a few seconds. $34 for the housing index and $34 below the 40 expectation.
You got more of those Teslas. It looks like it's rolling into that line. Again, those are the ones from earlier, 240s. crude at Lowe's. FIVN. What's going on here? Let's see. You got some buying, decent looking buying too. FIVN, Frank, Igloo, Victor, Nancy. They're buying April's into strength. April 70s and looks like April 75s as well in a suite. Frank, Igloo, Victor, Nancy. Looks like there's enough November exposure in open interest FIVN. But worth keeping an eye on if they come back next week. I'll put it, I'm going to put FIVN on the top list today just so we can follow it anyway. It's a nice looking order there. GT, Goodyear Tire. We saw some buying the last couple of weeks in GT. They had an investor day too. Looks like they're taking some profit there. Squeezometer down a tick, but still with a 7 handle 70.
And confirming 100% success rate for their project Kuiper prototype. That will make us in November.
Tesla, rolling out some puts now, Tesla. That's a roll. So outside of weekly activity and usual suspects, the big guys, FIVN, the only thing somewhat interesting, April call buying, it could replace November's, but worth keeping an eye on. You got some repeat put buying in that Riley, RILY. Heavy insider buying in this thing. They've destroyed it. They bought it back in the spring. You remember we were talking about it. Had a nice run through the summer. And they just buried the stock again. I think insiders are buying it again here. That's you guys know Riley, small cap brokerage firm. Oops, sorry, good second. You got a leap sweep in Zoom, ZM, Jan 2026 calls. What are they buying? 105.
The 20 minutes to the weekly natural gas inventory data, a wide range of expectations today between plus 35 and 45 billion cubic feet. 5-year average for the week at plus 20.
A little pause in the VIX selling, weighing on the little equity rally. Oh, what is that? That's a roll. Tesla now seeing some weekly put activity. My credit signals aren't really indicating any upside. Flattish to down. And equities.
The Trust MTRS saying that it selected its asset servicing provider for a Costco retirement plan. Member Tango on this year.
And the silver ETF seeing a lot of volume this morning. Could be November rolling. What's this stock? SNDX. Looks like a biotech. Sam Nancy, David, X-ray, some unusual sweeper activity. Jan 12 and a half. You got some more XLE puts. March 74s. I think that's. Oh no, that's not the same line. It's March though. March 74 puts XLE. Baba is, I think they had earnings, right? So it's pretty messy. Just pre-earning stuff moving around, hitting bid. Here are the active lines in Baba. The anti-VIX is almost on sell signal off the VIX weakness.
The text is expected, but it will be a Q&A on the model. Mind that the details of the speech and the live lecture are available on the Fed Forward entry on the financial news page for anybody interested.
Tesla puts, weekly puts. It looks like some more rolling out into those 240 calls for next week. $56. I guess that's not all bad considering. Pfizer rolling.
SQM on earnings conference call declining to comment on the Azure takeover bid.
So what's on
Let's see if
the
we can
momentum scanner? Old big guys again, probably. Yeah. Nothing. Oh, Microsoft, Apple. Shot. Dukes, take it easy over there.
Hey Jay, just 5-minute warning before we
5-minute
go
warning.
back to room only. Yes, sir.
Thank you, brother.
Discussion on central bank digital currency listed by the Bank of Canada and the British Bank. No text expected, but it will be a Q&A from a moderator. Keep in mind details to go to the speech and the live video.
You got Fed speak all over the yard again today. Again, I don't know how important that is. Where does that have it somewhere here?
Speaking on lending stability at the New York Fed's 2023 Treasury Market Conference with no text or Q&A expected. A live video for Fed's well.
There's QM on the conference call saying they have seen some softening of lithium demand outside of China. Circle back, Michael.
So that's the story, my friends. We got about, what do we got? 4 minutes here left. Same again, like I just mentioned, same script. If your game is scalping the big guys, I think you got to be a little quicker too these days. But that's the action out there. Nothing really too appealing. Kind of what we were talking about this morning. We need to see some decent buying spread out. No signs of that yet. But I do think as we get into next week, we're going to start to see some more of that unusual activity in the less liquid names. Usually around the the Thanksgiving holiday, you get some of that stuff. Otherwise, we need to see some sort of shift here for this market to find some more juice. JCI, December 52. Here's a name we've seen some buying from time to time, Apollo. You guys remember we saw some buying with time in this name, APO, off the latest dip. APO, same thing here, Jan leaps again. Jan 2025 leaps and March 100s in some opening activity. Let's see that March, sweet. Yep, March 100s, a little over 6 figures there. APO, repeat activity. It's a nice looking name too, that APO, compared to the other financials.
It's about a minute now to the natural gas inventory data. Expected between plus 35 and 45 billion cubic feet.
All right, we got a minute left. For those of you outside the steam room, we got the same special we have been running for a while now. 2 weeks for $8 for access into the steam room. Get to see all the tools, the flow, sentiment, positioning, traders in the room, Moncharo, Lucci, scalping the living piss out of things throughout the day. And you pretty much have access to everything. The only thing you can't do is, I think, speak for the first week. So we avoid some of the riffraff. But for $8, And, this market, in my opinion, I know if you're a mega cap trader, kind of already has been interesting, but could get a lot more interesting on either side as we get into December, because we're going to need to see some change in temperament here sooner than later. The buying is either going to spill into the underbelly and other things, or bears will sniff that out, and you get some selling for a change. All right, so everybody have a good rest of the week. Thursday, today, we have a webinar later. We'll go over some names. Again, I did a scan for some underbelly growth names, the few that are out there. We'll take a look on the webinar later today, 4 o'clock after the bell, 4:15. Have a good rest of the day. Good luck, everybody.